So George Soros had this fight back table. He paid big money to have everybody come. And if you could go back and study what he did and what the conclusions they came to, it happened and played out almost exactly the way they had covered it. This was a planned thing. Now, in 2000, I know this is going to sound wild, but you know, prophets sometimes sound wild. And I might as well start talking about it. In 2008 and 9, a plan was developed. And a portal was opened to bring a spirit from the time, this just sounds too wild, from the time of the tribulation back into that time. And the leader of the nation at that time began to act just like the Antichrist, just like Satan, just like him. Every attribute, every move, every decision, everything, it's because a spirit was dimensions were manipulated to bring it there. People say, I don't even believe that. Then tell me something. What is CERN even doing? If they're not opening dimensions, what is it? Did you happen to see the whole play where they displayed their vision in front of world leaders in Switzerland? They put a whole play together, a whole dramatized play, and men in nice suits and women dressed to the nines. They all came and sat in the stands like they had some kind of holy dignitary about their countenance. And when all they were sitting and watching was the workers of CERN marched up out of the pit of hell and walked onto a level playing board, like a chess type board, I guess. It was just a solid flat surface. And they came out there with their working uniforms, their orange jumpsuits, their hard hats, and they marched like zombies up out of hell. And they stood on that floor, and then suddenly they started simulating a wild orgy in front of everybody. And the dignitaries with their suits and ties that had clean soaped wash hands and filthy maggot infested hearts stood there and watched them as they did this. And some of their other workers climbed up the wall in this dramatization and began to break through a glass wall, trying to go through a dimension. And when they finally finished it with their rituals of uncleanness and their science of breaking through, and it cost lives during the dramatization, but when it was all over and you combined it all together, Baphomet, the goat man, came walking out of the portal and walked out onto the field and laid down among the wild orgy that was going on and looked at him. And that was the end of the dramatization. And soap-washed hands and infested dirty hearts stood up and applauded. Why would you put on such a play if you're not looking to bring something from another dimension? And so this was happening. And they gave their vision. Even people who weren't saved, when they saw that, commented and said, this is straight up satanic. They knew exactly what it was. And they showed their purpose. They say, we're hunting the God particle. Really? Yeah. We want to know where we came from. We'll find the particle of life. Yeah? And then when they begin to fire that giant collider up, that big hadron collider, and it began to open another dimension, hideous faces appeared on the other side. And they showed in that dramatization what they were intending to do. And one of the scientists said, if we could open another dimension, something might step through it. They wanted to step through. But they wasn't counting on a bunch of pros that in an undisclosed location shut it down. I know them. And so we look at things